Okay, let's call the meeting to order. And everybody's got their mics on. Jim, please.
I got you, Jim. I got you.
First item is the agenda. Is there anything emergent to add?
No, nothing further.
Okay.
I'll move the way down.
James? Any questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And then accounts payable for information. Larry? Any questions or concerns? Chris?
Moving expenses for an employee.
Okay, yeah, same
I,
one?
s-
She's sitting over there.
I assumed that as I flew it in about 30 seconds ago.
Awkward, yeah.
I thought we just paid for a CAO.
Oh, they
Do
give
that.
money away to everybody.
Do they? Okay.
It is under policy 55.
Oh, okay.
Hiring policy authorization.
Okay.
Okay.
Good thing she didn't travel far, eh?
I have a truck if you need to do it next time. No, that's fine, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving on to cash and investment summary for August.
Move for information.
James? Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving on to minutes. We have the council minutes of September 11th for adoption. Matt?
Sure.
Any questions or concerns? Errors, omissions? It happened just that way. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Municipal Planning Commission meeting held September 20th. Larry? Questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That was carried. And the Regional Cypress Waste Management Authority meeting, September 21.
I'll move those.
Jim?
Your worship, I should recuse myself from this next one.
Okay, well, we're not done this one,
Oh, okay.
but thanks for the heads up.
Yeah.
Any questions or concerns?
I'm gonna recuse myself from one in January.
Of 2036?
All right. But, because we're just talking about the landfill, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Larry's recusing himself from the next item.
I'll move that for information.
Chris?
I'll wait till he walks out.
Yeah, I know. Wait.
It doesn't really have to leave.
Well, you kinda almost, you're supposed to get out. There?
He heard you.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, if there's not, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried.
Well, now he's
You
got
can
all
be
of it.
invited back in now.
Oh, we don't have to, do we?
Well, technically.
So on the topic of that, if there's so for my Redcliff Days approval, when that comes up in minutes in the future, I've never even thought about recusing myself.
Yeah, yeah, you should.
Okay, that's
Well,
fine.
you're a corrupt politician.
I guess so. Glad your mic is on. Never even crossed my mind.
That's why I leaned into it for you, Chris.
You taught me something, Larry. I never even thought about recusing myself for when the minutes come up on something that affects me.
Oh,
Yeah,
He just recused himself because he's mad at me.
Okay.
it's easy to believe.
an idiot.
Alright, 33. Bylaw number 1958/2023, being the business license bylaw, second reading.
I'll move for second reading.
James? Is this the one you have one amendment?
In addition, under 3K, under the definition,
There's the blue line there. May also be referred to as the municipal manager is what that should read, not town manager.
would include that in your amendment?
They can.
Is there any other concerns or questions, being that this is second reading? It's not good to make a bunch of amendments on a third reading.
I was wondering about that where you have to say who's working on your premises. I don't think we've ever done that.
Which part is that, Larry?
Well, you can get fined if you don't tell people of staff changes or something. I'm sure I read that in here.
Failure to produce an updated employee list within 30 days of staff changes?
Yeah.
Well, I think, I'm not gonna say exactly what that's for, but carrying on a business in the definition, you only need one business license, and so if you have more than one employee, they're acting on your business license. I don't know if that's why they want the list, or.
And you can get a steep fine there.
$100.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, eh?
It is for you.
Okay, Shannon, do you have any answers to that?
Which section are you referring to?
That's in the fines right at the very end. Appendix, or Schedule A, sorry. Number 30 and 36.
Okay, 30 and 36, so go back to those.
30, the business licensee shall provide the business license.
Oh, just for the cannabis production.
It's specifically to,
Oh,
Cannabis.
You selling weed, Larry?
Well, it's possible I have to sell something.
Well, then it might affect you. But right now, it only affects people that sell weed.
Yep, and it is just, because I think they also have to have criminal record checks and weird things like that too.
That might be a federal regulation.
Provincial.
Provincial.
AGLC requires that. And I know when we first brought in the cannabis and whatnot, we were a little more strict because we wanted to be safe rather than sorry. So I wonder if this doesn't fall into that same category. So what's the benefit to the town for this that AGLC is already not doing?
and we can double check with the legislation on this for a third reading.
Okay.
I think this was just to make sure it was done, right? It would be the same as a provincial.
I think AGLC already does that with their cannabis license.
I don't know.
I'm sure they do. 'Cause there's quite a few requirements, well, depending on what you call quite a few, but you gotta have the
It's pretty strict.
equivalent of safe serve for selling that. And there's a whole set of rules. They've changed their whole name to include cannabis in it. That's what the C stands for now.
But if this is the same, then it's not harmful by any means, it being in here.
True, I suppose, but it is redundant then.
Well, then the province gets money and we get money.
And that's only if we catch it and not them,
How does that give us money?
because some of these come to
Oh,
us.
if they come with a fine?
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna give them a fine. But,
I
okay.
know when we owned the liquor store, we never had to
Yeah,
come to the town and say that we had new employee.
And this doesn't apply to a liquor store, it's just cannabis. Both 30 and 36 are, they say, they mention cannabis, right?
are they
Yeah.
currently reporting right now? Are they adhering by this?
And again, I can check the regulations and I'll double check with the development officer as well, and Barry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, well, that's something to look into then, for third reading.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor of second reading as amended? Opposed? That was carried. And then bylaw number 1959/2023 being the smoke-free bylaw. It's here for second and third readings. So second reading, would somebody like to put it on?
Move that.
Jim? Any questions or concerns? second reading. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried, and put it on the table
For
for third
consideration.
reading. Larry? Any questions or concerns on third reading? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Moving on to requests for decisions. We have medical first response for the Redcliff Fire Department in regards to a level of service for consideration. Would somebody like to
Well, we
put it
need,
on the floor?
we need a motion, I guess, to talk about it, so I'll move that we increase the level of service, option 2 here, increase the level of service for the fire department to include a modified service level of medical first response. This option also includes applying for financial assistance currently being offered by the October 15th deadline. Then I have a question.
Okay, James?
So I remember, this was brought forth last year at budget time.
Yep.
And I remember we talked about it, and at the time, we kind of just thought that this wasn't really something that was worth pursuing. And then I read through all these stats, and I'll be honest, I didn't quite understand what all these different letters meant. Because it gives a description of card 9 and 11 being cardiac or respiratory arrest/death or choking, but what this A, B, C, D, E means. Because those seem like a lot of numbers, but if that's just total 911 events that include everything, or is that stuff that would be responded to by our fire department?
No, the A, B, C, D, E levels are levels of severity.
Okay,
Alberta Health Services defines minor cuts, breaks, everything up to and including cardiac arrest.
right,
The Delta Echo being the two most severe cases that they would have to deal with, or anybody would have to deal with. My first proposal last year was to do Delta Echo level calls. This year I've talked with Alberta Health Services at Shannon, and we decided that was probably a little ambitious, not to mention could be quite costly for the town. We had a consultation with the Alberta Health Services regional person, and she recommended that we modify that to include only CPR, cardiac arrest, choking cases. We would be
That's why we have
paged
that.
initially with the ambulance at the same time. And if the ambulance was going to be more than 20 minutes out for any other Delta Echo calls, we would then be paged to go and assist till they got there.
Okay.
So it would only be, those numbers on that sheet that reduces the total to, I think it was 11 and 9.
Yeah,
And that would be the total number of anticipated calls last 2 years for choking, cardiac arrest. Having said that, we have responded to 4 CPR cases in the last year since the last time I applied to council to have a level of service changed. Even though we're not a medical first response, we were there, we were asked to help, and we did.
yeah,
So,
okay,
having said that, the members are in favor of carrying that on as a matter of the level of service increase. They think that they are trained enough and are prepared mentally to handle that increased load and increased mental stress. I will say right now that there is an error in the training costs you have on the back of that, and I only found that out this morning. That number came from last year when I consulted with the Cypress County Fire Chief, and that was an approximate cost as they were developing their program at that time. This morning I met with them again now that they've implemented their program, and the costs are actually $250 now instead of $165.
okay.
So I apologize for the error, but I did not have time to correct it. I only found that out about 9:30 this morning, so.
Okay. And then, in your proposal here, I see that it says that we put in, a guideline or policy, I guess, that would be, if they're gonna be more than 5 minutes, don't come, cause there's no point,
Right.
so that we don't have 6 people showing up to,
Right.
okay.
There'll be a couple of guidelines that'll come out of this. One is if you're not fully trained, don't respond, because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pay you, you can't respond anyway, put the town at liability. And the second one is, we average 9 people over the last 5 years to a call for the years. And so that's why I based the numbers on 9 responders. It's a debatable subject, but one I'd like to avoid, and that's limiting people responding on a volunteer or paid-on-call fire department. Even though they understand it's a cost to the town, the volunteers come that can, and I'm gonna suggest we pay them as they come, and I'll review in 6 months to see if that number is higher or lower. And if there's a need to say we were only gonna pay the first 3 that show up to the hall.
Yeah, well, my thought is you don't need 9 people to do CPR if the
No.
ambulance is coming too, right? So that's
Right.
9 people, that is a lot of wasted money if
Yeah,
per call.
The total cost of the town based on 9 people responding would be $9,900 a year.
Yeah. If there's 9 calls.
What's that?
If
Nine
there's
people.
20 calls, sorry.
If there's
Yeah,
9
9 people
people.
times 20
Yeah, 9
calls.
people, 20 calls, yeah, sorry.
It's definitely a cost increase. It's substantially less than the proposal last year, because last year I based it on 35 calls doing Delta Echo at all levels. But I think that was a little too ambitious.
Yeah.
What was the budget request last year, do you recall?
What's that?
Do you recall the budget request amount last year?
I'm gonna say it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000.
I recall that I put it in at 20.
Okay.
There is one more thing that came out of the meeting, or a couple of things that came out of the meeting with Alberta Health Services. They've increased their grant monies for medical first response departments. The annual allotment for the province was $100,000 a year, which is pretty much a drop in the bucket when it comes to costs. For 2023, they've increased that to 1.25 million, and they anticipate, and this is words that came from the Alberta Health Services rep, they anticipate that to be even higher next year. Right now, the grant money is intended for training costs and equipment replacement, procurement and replacement costs. That person felt pretty confident that the wages would come this year, but that's something that'll be up for debate when they have their meeting. So right now, the only thing we can say is the grant money is available to offset the training costs and the equipment costs.
But in the future, it could very well include the wages as well.
It could. She alluded to the fact that that was one of the items that was on the agenda to be discussed at their meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a lot of trouble with, as is every department, with recruitment and retention. And the towns, every municipality is facing the same problems we are when it comes to finances. So they understand that. And having said that, the only other thing I can say that's changed from last year to this year is we are almost the only entity now in southern Alberta from a fire perspective that does not do medical first response. Cypress County now does full Delta Echo, Tabor County 40 Mile, and one other one, have all gone now to some form of medical first response. The nice thing with Alberta Health Services is they'll allow you to customize your service level to suit your needs. So if we find even at this level it's too much, we can take it back down. It would have to, I would still think we need to give it a fair shot time-wise, but we can take it right back to where we are today if we find we can't manage it in either financially or people-wise.
Yeah, my thoughts with proposing a modified, setup is if we did this even for a year, kind of see where the numbers shake out, see how the response from the members shakes out. You know, maybe you go a whole year and you only get 5 calls. Maybe you get 30, we don't know, right? Because
No.
it's people we're talking about, right, and accidents and whatever. But if we went with a modified thing, so it wouldn't necessarily be like a 24-hour plan, I think is what I was reading in there, is you could restrict types of calls, amounts of calls, or hours, or whatever you guys would see fit, I guess, for that. Then give it a 1 or 2 year shot, see where it lines up, and, you know, at the end, I know last year when we talked about this, it's really hard to pull back on a level of service, but if it's just not working, it's just not working, or maybe it's working great and it's something we wanna keep going with in the future. But, I don't know, I think it's worth a shot if we think that we can reasonably get there, in a quicker response than Alberta Health Services can, then, you know, minutes saves lives, they say, so.
Like, from a member's perspective, I can say we've got 8 members that are on Cypress County Department and now, and are delivering a higher level than I'm proposing for Redcliff. Those members are all in favor of us taking this step and moving the Redcliff Department up one level. And I've talked to all of the firemen over the past year, especially after every CPR incident we've had, and that they're still strongly in favor of adopting this increase. My guys are anxious to help and want to do everything they can, so.
Does anybody else have any questions? Go ahead.
Well, then what would be the difference between option 2 and option 3, between the modified and then full service? Like, even if we did option 3 as a full service, could we still, like, would you still modify it? Let's say 6 months down the road? Like, I'm just trying to figure out which motion is the best one for this decision, I guess. So that I can understand it better, I guess.
I think, I don't know for sure who put these motions together, but I think one would be full D&E, and the modified is D&E for cardiac arrests and choking. So you're limiting it to 2, because
Okay.
there's, you go from B to D on a broken arm, right?
Mhm.
Is it broken? Is it open wound? Yeah, you know, so there's different levels on everything. Even a bee bite, is it just swelling or are they already choking?
Yeah.
So they rate everything from A to E. And by that's why if you look back, you'll see there's like 130 calls and things like that on all of them. But if you limit them to just D&Es on choking and heart attacks, it comes down to 11, 12
So that would
calls.
be option 2 then?
That's
as
the
a
one,
modified
that's the
service.
one James made,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I think last year when we were talking numbers, we were talking motion 3, the
Okay.
full-on D&Es.
Yeah, last year when I went back and read my proposal last year, and I wrote it as full Delta Echo, not Alpha Bravo Charlie, it's
Yeah.
Delta Echo. But that includes way too much
Mhm.
for what we're prepared to
Okay.
handle. I don't think, I'm not to downplay anybody's injuries, but I don't think that the Delta calls on the bottom end of the scale, and that there's pages of definitions for each of those
Mhm.
levels. Warrant us having to pay the ambulance is as close as it is here, and is as reliable. We're lucky. Having said that, Medicine Hat's in a red condition where there is not an ambulance available several times a day. And that's why I proposed this time with a 20-minute time, because 20 minutes is a long time for an ambulance to not be around, even in Medicine Hat. So the chances of us getting a call because of that will be relatively low, in my opinion. But I don't, again, want us responding to everything.
Yeah.
We're not paramedics. I have 2 paramedics on the department, but we're not trained ambulance.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure option 2, this modified service, is what is gonna work best for you.
Yeah,
So,
yes,
and your department.
The modification will be based for Redcliff.
Yeah.
It's not a defined level. We define the
Okay.
level working with Alberta Health Services.
Sounds good to me.
And they're quite open to any level definition we want to accept.
Well, this is a free way for them to get more boots on the ground.
Yeah, they want to get somebody to these places as quick as they can.
Yeah.
And it's not free and totally free to them, because if they're gonna pay for our training costs and our equipment, it will cost
Way
them
cheaper
some.
just paying for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Matt, if you go back to those charts in the blue,
Yeah.
you'll see like D&Es are 123 one year, 109 one year, and 116 another year. That's all types of injuries, D&Es.
Yeah. And now that I'm,
And then when you get down to the 9s and the 11s, there's like D&E, there's really only 6 heart attacks and 1 choking from 21, 22, right? Just the D&E, so those numbers come down very quickly, and that makes it a lot more manageable.
And now that
And then
we-
the only other time would be if they're not around, and then we still get called for assists.
Okay. And now that we've talked about it, I understand that chart a bit better too, so.
Yeah, she broke out just the 2 worst case scenarios there, the 9s and the 11s.
Mhm.
And those are the numbers that she pulled.
Yeah, those numbers came as a result of our meeting and our request to define heart attack, CPR, choking numbers so that we could talk apples to apples tonight,
Mhm.
because that's the level we talked about with it.
And do we have this in reserve, I assume?
Well, budgets are coming up right away too, right?
Well, that or does it go to budget? Yeah, that's my question.
Part of wanting to bring this forward was to, if
Get the
you are
grant.
in favor of it, is so that we could make application by the
The 15th.
deadline for the grant.
Okay.
Do you have time to get that grant application out in 20 days?
We will do our best to get it out.
I have most of the numbers that will go into that application, grant application already with the training costs and the equipment costs, so
Yeah.
it's a matter of putting it into the form.
Any more questions or concerns? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we might get more business with this one.
Okay, we have a budget submission for a boat launch.
I move option 2, move 2024 budget submission for a boat launch to be received for information.
Okay,
We had this in budget talks before, was it that much?
the
It's like
last
half of that,
time,
wasn't it?
the last time it came, it was a real boat launch, not just
Yeah, they
stairs that you can carry a
They
kayak
wanted to be
down.
able to back
They
in
wanted
the
to back.
speedboat.
Yeah,
I don't know
but
why anyone
the
would
dollar
want
amount
that
attached
rather
to it wasn't near that price, was it? I don't recall.
These are just somebody's best guesses.
Yeah.
Our admin have not confirmed nor denied the numbers.
Nice picture.
Yes.
That's a lot of money to put towards that.
Well, let's see what a price tag is.
This is.
It's just, right now, it's,
Right now
the
the
motion
motion
is
is we don't do
moved
anything
for,
with it. Oh, okay.
receive for information, so that's,
Which means it,
that
No.
means it's being received for information.
Is it suggested motion number 1?
Two, Larry suggested 2. I think.
he added some words to it when he read it. He just said, receive boat launch for information. Yeah.
Okay. Questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And the residential speed limit for consideration.
I'll move option number 1 to maintain the current speed limits and signage within the town of Redcliff.
The king of street signs over there.
Any questions or concerns?
Yeah, you beat me to the motion, Larry, because I was going to move that we should get the radar speed display signs. I think it'd be a good idea for the rough budget numbers that we were given at GPC. It's a small amount to put into seeing what's actually going on out there. I've read a lot of people online complaining about how everyone's zipping through town and driving too fast, mostly on Main Street, like GMC, but
Lots of those.
but if these units, like Alicia said at GPC, can actually track and give us, she said it'll track and give us real-time data on a monthly basis or whatever, what's your average speed limit, and, am I getting that right? Yeah. Yeah. And so on and so forth, then it gives us actual data that we could, ask the police to do a little more police presence here, or
Or we can take action.
we can take action, I don't know how we're gonna do that, but,
Speed limits, you should know about those.
we don't. Well, if they're
No.
speeding in a 50 zone, they're gonna speed in a 40 zone. But, we could ask for police presence, or we could ask the police to put up their big sign, or whatever, just to kind of promote people to slow down, but if we had portable units that we could just kind of move around town on a monthly basis, or bi-monthly basis, or whatever, I don't know, I think that would be a good idea, in my opinion.
Matt?
So I wasn't able to make that meeting, but this was a very interesting topic. These signs then, are they like a portable sign on like a trailer, or ones you mount on like the light standards, or what?
You could do either or. So the one they're talking about goes on a mounted movable device. It's basically a trailer, and it has like a traffic logics. So it allows you to compound real-time data and look at it over a span of, like I said, a week, a month, a year, depending on what you want to look at. So there's two options. You can have the mounted sign, or you can have the one on the trailer.
I did not know that they kept track of.
Well, like, there's one, I don't know, on First Street in Medicine Hat now. It's been there for a while, I don't know if it still is, I don't drive that
Yep,
road all the time,
just
but
there today.
it's there, and when you're doing the right speed, it stays on, and as soon as you break it, it starts blinking at you, yeah. I've heard if you go really, really fast, they'll do something else, but.
And then I like this idea too, because then we can move it around town, and I'm gonna pick on your speed zone, because then we could maybe put it into the speed zone on Main Street. We can see if it's
That
really
works.
needed there or not, because we put a 30-kilometer-hour zone in there with no data. So some data would be nice.
Can you get them that they flash a light at you as you go
Yeah,
by?
yeah, you can get all different signs.
Lasers
You can put
and
thumbs
blind
up,
you?
Make it look
smiley
like a photo
faces.
radar.
Middle finger?
You go speeding by it, it goes
Good idea. That'll slow people down for sure.
no, they'd come back and break the sign.
Because
But I like it just
Yeah,
looking
I
into
think
the
slow down,
price of
Chris.
it.
With a siren on it.
But I like, we can look into the price of it, and we got convention this week, we can certainly get some prices there, easy enough. Not committing any money to it with
No.
suggestion motion.
Well, the motion
Second
is
to-
just one,
I know, yes.
and we still have budget to do, so yeah, there could be further looking.
Yeah.
And yes, you're up there, you could wander. I know they're there,
Yes,
because they've
I
already
got an
sent
email about
emails.
it.
I know, yeah.
good for
Which was
you.
very convenient timing, right after we
Oh,
talked.
well, no, that's what they do. Yeah.
I'll send it to you, Chris, so you can find them.
I'm sure he's got it, I'm sure they've sent them to everybody.
You're the most important one, they just sent
I
it to
am.
you.
All right, go ahead, Matt.
just because I wanted to say, like, I'm not like, when this is very intriguing, because I'm not opposed to lowering speed limits in certain parts of town. But with this being said, I am I think, leaning more towards, now that we can have data
See if you
into
can
this,
do it.
or looking into this, like, but I just want to let you guys know that, I was kind of more in favor of doing some changes.
Should have been at GPC last Thursday.
Okay.
But that's just my 2 cents, so. And under suggested motions, it's 1, 2, 2. So,
Oh, yeah,
just,
but he went with one.
okay, I'm just saying.
So, any more concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, still carried. Okay. Glen Motz Combined Town Hall Event. Oh, no.
I know you wanna make this motion, but I'll make the
I
motion.
can't make motions.
I know,
I think he's glad he can't make motions, he doesn't look like the bad guy.
I'll make the motion that we will host and facilitate a combined town hall. Option number 1.
You talk to your buddy,
I don't have anybody.
because they made a motion to not participate.
Oh, did they?
Yes,
Who's that? Cypress?
yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I phoned them to see what they did.
Why, what was their, well, without everybody then. Without everybody, then maybe not, I suppose. What was their thought process there?
We're not even close, guys.
You need to watch the video.
Oh, okay. Okay, well then, well, I made the motion.
We can always vote in favor of it.
Well, I don't know how, I'll rescind my motion. Somebody else can make a motion.
I will make a motion that we confirm that we are unable to host and facilitate. If you want to rescind your motion.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. This is not to say if he stages his own that anybody can attend.
Well, yeah, he can do it.
It's just better if everybody in the region was doing it, but if not everybody's doing it, then, okay.
All right, let's move on to policies. We have policy number 50, smoke and vape-free workplace policy for consideration.
Move option 1.
Matt? Any questions or concerns?
I can't believe we didn't have this already. Is it not legislated that we would have to have this years ago?
If you'll notice on page 87, that is the existing one. And we've put
Oh.
together a new revised one, which is more in alignment with our bylaw and with the legislation.
Oh, okay.
And it's still the same number and everything, it's just
Yes.
reviewing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
any other questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And other community program and event guide for information. Jim?
I'll move 1. It's the only one there.
Okay,
Where's indoor pickleball?
I think it's was at Parkside School on Sundays, and there was a fee to
Is that in the new gym?
become a part of the club.
Oh.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if that started up or what.
There you go.
Never thought about it, Jim. I was quite confused on where we'd have indoor pickleball, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
Now you can enjoy it all year round.
It is a fun game. I haven't played it here yet, but
It's an old person game.
yeah, that's what I said. I like it.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And council important meeting and events.
Move for information.
James? Anything we missed? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Do we need a recess? Okay, let's do a 5-minute recess.